Future Educational System, and Jihan Microfinance Limited. Yes, move to the next slide, please. Our speakers are Llewellyn. He is an executive director in Genesis Community IT Initiative, presented in South Africa. Then we have Dr. Akorfa. She is a managing director at Jihan Integrated IT Transport Services. Then we have Sarah Alcala. She is a deputy chief executive officer at Future Educational Systems. Then we have Dr. John. He is a AG Deputy Vice Chancellor in Management University of Africa, Guru, in Kenya. Then we have Mr. Kamal. He is a General Manager at MLB. Now, Mr. Kamal will also discuss and want to give more brief about each speaker.
Thanks, Chandra. Thanks for introducing all the people. Really appreciate, first of all of the participants and our speakers for joining today this webinar. Really appreciate all of you. Again, we connected talking about a very big challenge that right now all the institutions are facing in this pandemic. And I think today we have a lot of new speakers joining as well. Dr. John, you have been most liked from our participants. They keep wanted you continuously because you have conducted the examinations. So people wanted, and we really appreciate you again joining us in this conference. And we have Llewellyn as well. He has been again joining us in this conference as well. There are a lot of our participants continuously asking somebody to join from South Africa. So we have Llewellyn from South Africa as well. And we have new two speakers today. I'm not counting myself. I'm just a person who's going to help my speakers and what conclusion is coming from today's discussion. There are some challenges that we discussed last time as well. However, there are some new things came up with some myth that I will be covering as well. But we have two new speakers, Dr. Akorfa and we have Sarah. Dr. Akorfa is from Ghana and Sarah is from Egypt. They are most welcome to today's conference. Obviously, we'll try, at end of this webinar, we'll try all of our, including with our speakers, what all questions are coming up from our participants. We'll try to answer. I am seeing that participants are joining continuously to us. It's great to let everybody knows as well that today, right now, we have people from 21 different countries. So it's a great opportunity that all the different parts of the world people are joining, not only from Africa, South Africa, but people are joining from Asia, Southeast Asia, as well as from some people are joining from North America as well. So quickly, I will give an overview about Llewellyn, who's a very dynamic person, obviously. Llewellyn, is an executive director of an educational non-profit organization that is Genesis Community IT Initiative and Center Manager of the ICANN Center, an initiative of the Western Cape. He's the CEO of GCT Campus as well. It's an IT college that offers industry-led training. And he's successfully more than 10,000 citizens were empowered in digital skills in 4 years through the ICANN Center. He has been continuously part of the radio show and he has been continuously joining Radio 786, and more than 5,000 listeners keep joining Llewellyn to hear more good and facts coming from him. So Llewellyn, I would like today to start with you and understand and really appreciate, first of all, Llewellyn joining us, and why we today asked for the video conferencing, because most of our participants were asking that, requesting as well that why not we should have the video conference, and that's why I'm sorry I have requested all my speakers, but all of you have joined as well as a video conferencing. Thanks all again. How you are planning? So I'm giving it to you, Llewellyn, from here, so that you can take it from there. I know people might be having a lot of questions in between. So people who are having any questions with Llewellyn, you can raise on our Q&A box as well. Llewellyn, it's to you now.
South African time, good morning, everyone, all the participants, the panelists, and also to Pramil and his prestigious team that is actually leading this discussion on online examination. So firstly, thank you to everyone. I express my gratitude for those that are still tuning in, and I am actually very grateful. I will switch off my camera just to make sure that the audio is more effective than looking at and seeing my face. So Pramil has placed me first in the discussion. I always felt very comfortable to be to speak after Dr. John, but in this case, he's positioned me very first, putting a lot of pressure on me. But once again, I am grateful and I am thankful. For the sake of time, I will start out just touching on online examination and also give the rationale behind it. The introduction was done on the work that I do that is specifically on digital skills and also other skills. In South Africa, with our high unemployment rate, skills are extremely important. And beyond skills which are important, we've focused on online learning when we started out pushing that, and that has gone successful. But from online learning, we've grown to online exams, and that is the point of discussion everyone has now during this time. Since we've experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, we've opted for online learning. Now we are sitting at the stage of where we discuss online examination. And I'll be flowing through with the PowerPoint. And I think I've mentioned the first paragraph. So the online learning provides various benefits. But what I've seen of online examinations, it can be user-friendly. It can, for some people, in some cases, not be user-friendly. And that will definitely relate to those that are not digitally inclined or having proper digital skills or feeling comfortable about online exams. That's the most important thing. And there will be a few keywords that I'll be driving, which is comfortable and also confidence. Online exams can present in itself technology forward. And when I say that, I speak about the advantages it can serve for both the organization, exam invigilator, and also the teacher that must grade the assessments. There is a possibility that we can speak about reduced labor cost if you trace back and you look at a break-even model when you actually conduct a big online or a traditional exam, where the cost includes for exam invigilation, the printing of the paper, the examination papers, the security and the privacy around it. Those are things that takes time, which we have gone through that process for many years. So at the same time, you're also looking at save on time investment in that regard. It can serve as a reduced overheads based on your organization. And online exams definitely can increase security and privacy, which I will touch on. So I also do admit that it can either serve as a promoter or a barrier in online learning on the aspect on infrastructure. And that would be one of the keywords that we all would connect to today on the aspect of infrastructure. Does your infrastructure act as a barrier to online learning and online examination, or is it a promoter? And I think once we get that right, we can then move forward, or we can re-look at our strategy. We can go to the next slide. So I do admit the challenges which can be faced, because everyone is always looking at the challenges, which is a very big reality. And sometimes the challenges can have severe cost included, and that's the reason why I am mentioning it. So the investment in infrastructure costs will then allow you to look at online examinations differently and definitely see it as a promoter. Okay, coming back to my story and what I faced before COVID-19, I was faced with a challenge where my students had to write exams and I needed to make a decision. They were already prepared in the space of online learning, and now they had to move to online examination. And in that regard, with COVID-19, we were forced to move to online examination. So students had to adopt the MLMU online exam platform to undertake these exams. And that is where we then had first-hand experience about the lockdown browser, but also at the same time, it gave students an opportunity. And today, as we are listening across Africa, across the world on online examination, I realize it's also all about the student and where they share their experiences. And that becomes extremely important, because how we view things and how they experience it can be different, and we need to capture that information. So on this slide, I have AI proctored online exam. We can move to the next slide. So being faced with this challenge, I needed to make decisions, and the portal that MLMU presented actually addressed all the concerns we had in the organization before we moved to actual online examination. And I will start out with something that it's called the lockdown browser. So this was a great advantage, that the browser can be locked down during exams, and also all other applications could be disabled on the system for a student writing exams, meaning that the student cannot surf Google, they cannot do anything else that will either serve as a distraction or either serve as possible cheating. So this feature was good for having a lockdown browser. And this helped us in that regard, that the student would only view the exam only. Now, what we've also realized that during an exam, which was one of the biggest challenges, if a student has to undertake an exam in a regulated environment online, and also at the same time remotely at home, our biggest challenges: will these students cheat? And looking at the tradition, what has would happen in the past, where if we would analyze how students traditionally cheated, this challenge existed for us again, moving online. What saved us was actually the artificial intelligence camera or webcam, that functionality included into the system, whereby face recognition can be monitored and can also be measured, where the online proctor can actually pick up when students remove their face exactly from the screen, and then instruct them or guide them not to do it. The system also allows where, once you look at students moving their faces continuously, meaning if I see that students are moving their faces continuously more than 10 times, indeed it can serve as a suspicion. Or even swivel their face continuously. That means someone is not looking directly at the camera or directly at the screen. And there can either be some notes being somewhere placed. The online proctor can then serve as, do I disqualify your exam, or do I reprimand you to continue? So these are the things that was quite powerful for us when we heard that there was artificial intelligence built into the system that is connected to the webcam, that can actually allow us to feel safe in conducting an exam in a regulated environment, but also remotely. We then realized, and I think research covers this tremendously, that once students are now using technology as a medium of exam, technology setup or login, you find yourself taking sometimes even up to 30 minutes just to successfully log in. Low bandwidth can also serve as a problem during that time. But we have discovered that we need to give students definitely extra time. If an examination was 2 hours, we actually needed to give the child 3 hours. We needed to do that. And that is one of the things that is extremely important. So we discovered 1 hour extra would be suffice from a technical administrator login up until the student at the end can go back and review their work. And also at the same time ensure that before they would exit the exam, that they can check everything and then either save successfully and move forward. So we knew that there were challenges within the technical environment that a student needed to understand. Traditionally, it would be a piece of paper. You've used your pencil, you filled in the information. But with the online exam, there are some other features that they need to adhere to ensure that their work is saved as they progress. So these new features like saving continuously, making sure everything is up to date, becomes extremely important for a student to be conscious during this time, that they can actually be aware what is happening. So definitely we had a challenge where students were anxious, and anxiety can either serve as a promoter or as a barrier in this regard, because students being anxious about the infrastructure, will the computer go down, will the technology, will the internet disconnect? These are the fears that they have. But beyond that fears, if the technology serves as a promoter, students can then feel confident about the exam, and also at the same time, I would say, comfortable. So adding extra time is extremely important. I'm going to place great emphasis on it, because this will ensure that students can be successful in everything basically that they do during exam. So the online invigilator could immediately interact with students to correct where it's needed. I think I have mentioned that. So it makes the online remote invigilator proactive during the exams, which we actually want. And that was for us extremely important, that we could monitor the exam process with students remotely. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay. What we discovered also, that we could schedule exams during the time. We could schedule the online exams where the window would open, where the exam would start, and when the exam would finish. That was an advantage for us, that this can be scheduled remotely, and we would know on a standardized level that students across communities or remote communities or rural communities could write the exam at the same time. And also in saying that, where the advantage lies is that your online exam then becomes a bank of questions that can be restructured, that can be redone. So if anything would happen during exam, there are processes which you as an organization can follow. You can have a backup exam, or let me use the word, a supplementary exam, whereby you don't need to go and reprint, but you can just reset it up if that would be the case where something has happened remotely. So we can clearly see that moving online can pose challenges, but the advantages are much more greater in such a way that supplementary exams can also serve as a solution. What I've also seen to make sure, especially with technology. Now we know that the technology is successful in itself, but it's always the human capital behind it and how we drive it that make it much more successful. So in my case, I had to make sure that the staff and the support was adequate, and to monitor exams and support students through the live chat. Now, the live chat is a very powerful thing, because directly students can interact and we can respond much more quicker and directly. So there is no lag time. And as I've mentioned, this obviously relates to 1 hour additional during the exam time if a student has a specific question to ask, or if the language posed in a question can portray as complex, and we need to either simplify it for the student if a question is posed in that nature. Now, when students sign up for the exam, they need to sign up before the time, and there they need to upload a photo. Now we've seen that now that they've signed up, the exam is scheduled for those students. It becomes extremely important for the person who opens up the exam, who sits behind the computer and the webcam. And this is where the webcam and the system matches that the student who's undertaking the exam is the exact student that is on the system. So this results in matching taking place, and that is where the artificial intelligence of the MLMO system comes in, that we know that the student who's undertaking the exam is the student on the system. And also during exams, that there is no swap around of people. And that was also another advantage for our organization when we considered the platform. With South Africa currently at the moment, we do face load shedding schedules, meaning power outages across various states and provinces. And we then realized that the students complained that it actually took even place during exams. In South Africa, load shedding was scheduled at different times in different communities. So to create a standardized exam posed a challenge for us. But we also saw that the system could save their work automatically, and they could continue again once power went back on. So that was an advantage for us, because students working on an exam and power goes off or goes off, scheduled or unscheduled, the system in itself would also save the work. So that was an advantage that we could see how this platform would help our organization in online examination. I think that's the last point of my slide. I think I've moved very quickly, but just sharing the stuff that's very important for me was obviously